Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sophie if you're new here, and if you've seen me before, do not worry, I've not been kidnapped. I'm currently away in a hotel because I'm playing tennis over the next week for my county, something that I do every year. Yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know because it's not my usual background at my apartment. Coming towards the end of July now, and I thought it would be a good idea. I've seen it going all over BookTube, is that I wanted to do the mid-year book tag. So it's just like a set of questions that I sit and talk to you guys about kind of how my reading's been going, like books that I've enjoyed, and also things that I want to accomplish by the end of the year. So without further ado, let's just get straight into these questions. I also apologise because I don't have any physical copies of books with me here. They're all at home obviously, so I will insert photos of the covers of the books that I do speak about. So the first question is, what is my best book that I've read in 2024? And this is a hard one for me. I think I've read now 49 books, which is one away from my whole year goal. I've absolutely smashed it out of the park. But I'd probably say a book that I think about all the time and a book that has stuck with me would be Happy Place by Emily Henry. I think I read this at a really good point of my reading journey, and there was parts in it and roles that the characters played that I just really resonated with. And I think what they were going through, like I've been through that in my life, and the way Emily Henry wrote that book. And it's also, I think, the only book that I've read by her, so I definitely want to read more of her backlog. And I know she just brought out a Funny Story very recently as well. But yeah, if you haven't read that book, there's nothing more that I recommend. It's just so good. Like the setting of it, the characters, even just like the theme of friendship and struggling to almost stay connected as you grow up. I feel like if you're in your 20s, that's something that a lot of people struggle with, when friends they've had their whole life, suddenly they don't talk to them as much, or people move away with uni and jobs. It's just a big change, and these characters were going through that exact thing, and I feel like it was just so relatable. Then the next question that we've got is the best sequel that you've read so far in 2024, and without a doubt it has to be I'm Flame by Rebecca Yarros. So this is the second book in the Empyrean series, and the first book was obviously Fourth Wing. Now Fourth Wing was one of my favourite reads ever. Still to this day, it's something that I recommend to everyone wanting to get into fantasy, or anyone who hasn't even tried fantasy before. It's just so good, so easy to read, and oh, Sodin Riorson. Now, Iron Flame actually got a lot of hate when I was watching some reviews and things before I read it, so I was a bit scared going into it, thinking that I wouldn't like it as much as the first one, but I definitely loved it just as much, if not a little bit more. Like, I cried at the end of it. I'm very attached to the characters, as you can probably tell. It was really good. It's definitely a lot more politics and like battle scenes compared to the first book. Once again, like, I was never lost. I knew who everyone is, and that's something I like about those books, is I don't have to think while I'm reading. I think sometimes you pick up a fantasy book and you're like, who is this? Where are they? How are they interconnected to these people? But Rebecca keeps it simple, but it's also not like simple, if that makes sense. Really good English, Sophie. Yeah, that's all I have to say about Iron Flame. If you're scared to read it, just go do it. If you like Fourth Wing, you'll definitely like it. And the plot twist at the end. The next book, Onyx Storm, is due to come out, I think it's like January 2025, just for my birthday. So I'm counting down the days. So our third question is a book that is newly released that I haven't got around to reading yet. And I feel like that's a lot. For me, I'm someone that watches a lot of BookTok and BookTube, and I feel like people are constantly reading the new books that come out, and it's quite overwhelming in a way. I try not to get too fussed about it, but sometimes, you know, like when you're creating content, it's very much like you need to be reading those new books because people want to see that content. But I'm just trying my hardest to stay true to who I am and not get kind of caught up in the whirlwind that is BookTok and BookTube. But I'd probably say the book that is newly released that I'm most looking forward to is probably Funny Story by Emily Henry, just because there are a few by Abby Jimenez that I do want to get to, because I know she just released Just for the Summer, and I do like the sound of that synopsis, but I just obviously haven't read her work before, so I don't even know if it's going to gel with me. Oh, actually, I'm going to change my mind. Wild Love by Elsie Silver. obviously still looking forward to Funny Story, but Wild Love, Alice Silver came out I think a month or two ago now. But if I tell you I love the Chestnut Springs with my Chestnut Springs series with my whole heart, you must believe me, because I do. Probably the first romance series that I've read, and I loved every single book. Obviously there were some that I preferred more. Reckless, I Heart Theo. Yeah, obviously that is my favourite one, but Alice Silver just knows how to write those small town cowboy-esque romances, and she puts strong women in the roles who have a good backstory. Alice just creates these characters that are interesting to read about. Like, you have the romance and then you also have little side plots going on, and it just keeps it much more entertaining, adds a little bit of depth as well. So yeah, definitely Wild Love by Alice Silver, now that I've remembered. Okay, so now my biggest disappointment of 2024. I feel like overall I've just really enjoyed reading a lot. Oh wait, I know. So The Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake, that was a book that I'd been looking forward to read for so long. I bought it in a book haul with my boyfriend. I think I put a video in here where he chose my reads at the bookstore, and I got it in that haul, and everyone loved it that I've seen talk about it. But I feel like it's like a dark academia vibe, and they have powers and things, and on the synopsis you kind of read that they do trials to progress through this like school that they've gotten into. However, nothing really happened. Maybe the next books are better, so someone please let me know if they are, because I do kind of want to go and try the second one, but I just don't want to waste my time because I really struggled to get through it, to be honest. I'm surprised that I didn't DNF it. Yeah, it was just really boring to me. I didn't have a connection to any of the characters. They weren't really likable in my opinion. Like, I'm sorry if like you love that book, but reading is so subjective that people just have such different feelings about it, and I just didn't like it at all. Moving on to the biggest surprise of the year so far. Now I'm going to think about this one. I don't really know, you know. There's nothing that's really... Okay, I think I got one. So in that same video where my boyfriend chose the books that I bought, I picked up Hate Mail by Donna Marchetti, and I had never heard of her, never heard of the book. I think it had been newly released, to be honest, but I had no expectations going in, and I absolutely loved that book. I believe that I gave it 5 stars. So in that book we're following our 2 main characters, and they basically are pen pals in like when they're younger in school, and it's not nice either. They're really mean to each other. They send each other hate mail, and the meaner the better in their opinions. And then one day the letters just stop, and I think like 15 years later our female main character receives a letter again from the male main character. I've been sneezing all day today, bless me. Yeah, she finally receives one, and then she's going on this hunt trying to find him, and it was so entertaining. I loved the side characters, I loved the main characters. It was just a really fun read, and if you haven't, definitely pick it up. I definitely want to see what other books Donna has written, because I love the writing style, and I think mixed media books with letters and emails and things in I really love, and they really make me feel great things. So 100% recommend Hate Mail by Donna Marchetti. It was probably my biggest surprise, or the only one I can think of anyway, of 2024. So now a big one, my new favourite author. So I think 2024 has been a year of very new reads, new authors, delving into things that I don't normally read. So for me, it automatically has to be Sarah J Maas. So over the last 3 weeks I completed the whole ACOTAR series, which is the Court of Thorns and Roses, if you didn't know, and I loved it, every second of it. Absolutely adored the characters, adored the world. I was so upset when I finished the series because I was like, there's no more, but there could be some in the pipeline, and I will continue to cross my fingers and pray every day that we do get another book in that world, because Privian, I feel like I was born to live there in another life. That's all I'm gonna say. So yeah, the way Sarah J Maas wrote those books, obviously I can't really say that I'm gonna love all her books, but considering I loved 5 books that she had brought out, I know they're in the same world, but still the writing style just rubs me up the right way. And yeah, Sarah J Maas at the top. I'd probably say her or Alice Silver, to be honest, but I think Sarah does nudge it, because I do love fantasy a lot more than romance. It takes a lot for a romance book to make me like fall to my knees, but men in fantasy books, they do it so easily. We'll probably be staying in the ACOTAR world for this next question. It is my newest fictional crush, And let's face it, you think I'm going to say Rysand, don't you? And I do like him, but it's Cassian. Cassian throughout the whole books is just such a strong male character, and he's so sweet to women. He treats them with respect and he wants them to excel at life and challenge men, and that's really what I just love about him. And I was nervous to read A Court of Silver Flames because obviously it changed to that third person style, but once I knew that Cassian was one of the main POVs, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna eat that right up. And you know what I did? It was one of my favorites of the series. So good. And he's just so manly. Don't tell my boyfriend that I've said all this because he might get a bit jealous, but he doesn't exist, so I think it's allowed. But yeah, it'd definitely be him. Romance wise, I don't really have one at the moment. I just don't think they hit as well for me as a fantasy man. Like, you need to have powers, you need to have wings, you have to fly. I'm quite high maintenance when it comes to my fictional men. The next one, our penultimate question, is a book that made me cry this year so far. And the one that first comes to mind, it just has to be The Storyteller of Auschwitz. I can't currently remember the author, but obviously I'll put the picture here and you'll be able to see. And this is like a historical fiction story where we follow an author who lived in France, and she was a Jew during the World War II Nazi reign, and it's her story about her being taken to a concentration camp and the role that she had there, how she helped women and children get through the fears of the night and the next day just by spreading her stories and joy. She would almost create these characters that were these women so they would feel strong and independent and like that they could battle through it. And I cried multiple times through this book. Anything about World War II in that time touches my heart. It just makes you feel things like these. I know the book didn't actually happen, but people lived those roles, people were in those situations, and still to this day it just baffles me the amount of carnage and horror that just went on. If you're going to read anything, I definitely recommend just reading stories that are based around that time, because it definitely makes you think about people that lost their lives and like gave their lives to save other people as well. Just amazing. Okay, and now our final question of this little mid-year book tag. We've got two books that I'm anticipated to read. I'm looking forward to reading in the second half of 2024. I think I'm going to put a series together, and that is the Throne of Glass series for my first option. Obviously I want to continue reading Sarah's books and see how I do with those, and if I like them as much as the ACOTAR world. It very intrigues me a lot. I know obviously the tandem read scares me for the third and fourth book, but I know I can do it and I know it'll be enjoyable. People love it and rave about the series. And then the second book that I'm looking forward to reading or want to read by the end of the year, oh, Keeping 13. So I read Binding 13 in March, which is by Chloe Walsh, and Keeping 13 I need to get to, obviously, but I'm on my book buying ban, so I just haven't been able to get it yet. But as soon as I do, I'll probably be reading that first out of the whole haul, because I love the first book so much. If you didn't know, Binding 13, we follow Johnny and Shannon. Johnny is a big rugby player at his school, and then Shannon has had a history of bullying, and they meet, stories collide. It's emotional, things that this girl has gone through in her life. It's hard to read about at points, so definitely read trigger warnings and check that the book is for you. Okay, so that is the end of my mid-year book tale. I hope you guys have enjoyed listening to me rant on about books that I've read and want to read by the end of the year. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We're quite close to 800 subscribers and I still can't believe it. I'm grateful for everyone that watches, likes, comments, everything. But yes, I'll see you in the next one.